Okay, well, we'll wait a few moments while people from Facebook are joining us. But thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And we'll just give everybody just a couple minutes. Okay. I think a few more people are joining from Facebook. All right. And I'm Heather Dawson with MaxSold, and I am here with Linda Chu, who is the founder of Out of Chaos. And she will be talking to us about logistics of moving and preparing for the journey. And we're very excited to have her here and super happy to hear what she is going to share with us. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them into the Facebook thread or into the chat. We will answer the questions at the end. We also will start with a poll just to see who is joining us today. So go right ahead and answer this. A lot of organizers.
Interesting times for organizing and move managing.
I know. And if you are other, let's see, put it in the chat what you do. If you would like. Appraisers, yes. Educators and instructors. So glad to have you guys here. Dumpster
comment
diva.
about movers. Yeah, during COVID, that certainly hasn't stopped. Real estate hasn't stopped. So that, I think, alone has saved the industry. Real estate transactions still happening.
Okay.
Hi, Sam.
So I'm sharing the results. Hopefully everybody can see it. But thank you all for joining. I'm going to hand this over to Linda.
Beautiful. Thanks so much. Okay, let me just clear my screen here, get control. Perfect. So just thank you, Heather and Brian Caesar at MaxSold for hosting me and this presentation. And in chatting about what we're going to move forward with, we thought that the topic of moving would be of interest. So the users of the MaxSold platform often use this platform to get rid of a house full of goods, and that is preceded by the need to move. So I've worked in the industry for over 20 years, and I wanted to sort of go through with you some information that might be helpful for a move that you are embarking upon. More importantly, it's around some of the lesser known or these time invasive activities that happen during a move that people often don't factor in. To give you an example here, this is a current job that we're working on right now. Move day is actually today, in fact. So when it comes to managing a move, it doesn't really matter around whether it's a 700 square foot home, or in this case here, this home is just under 8,000 square feet, and it's a multiple destination move. The home, I'm based in Vancouver in British Columbia, and this home is in West Vancouver, and the homeowners, which has a 7-bedroom, 8-bathroom home, and they are moving from West Vancouver to the Cayman Islands and to Phoenix, where they have homes in both. So the navigation of those details is really what sets the move apart. but the move itself in terms of the logistics is just more of doing the same. So I'll cover some of that. So this is the home, as you can see, the kitchen here. In addition here, this is the lower level, 3-level home, and multiple terraced features within the home. And this is just the master closet, and there's 7 other bedrooms to work through as well, and master bedroom. So when it comes to managing a move and the logistics around the move, working towards the timeline is essential. The timeline can be pretty basic, but what isn't basic is all of the ask and all of the emotional journey that the client has to go through, which we need to manage. So in a very simplified basis, we backwards engineer a timeline. So if your drop dead date being day 1 is to be able, your end goal is to be able to hand the keys over to the realtor or to your tenant or to the next occupant of the home, this is what you're working towards. So in order to do that, the home has to be clean. So we're talking about drop dead dates, no room for error here. And life never works that way. But that being said, so in order to hand over the keys on this day 1, then the day before, with no room for error, you have to bring in the cleaners to come in and clean the home. In order for the home to be cleaned, then everything in the home has to be emptied out so that you either have removal or moving services come in to empty out the home. We typically do the removal services prior to the clean because during the move, you're going to have tape left behind. There's going to be garbage. You lift up furniture and there's things underneath that you need to sweep up and bag up. So the cleaning services happen. The removal services happen before the clean. So before the removal services happen, then the physical move where moving companies are engaged to move the client's contents out of the home has to happen. And this is based on, say, a Monday to Friday timeline. If this is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So we have to sort of the weekend, a couple of buffer days that we put in there. Then in order to meet your possession handover date and your move, your removal and cleaning, then all this week, then at minimum, you start to engage in the process of actually packing and coordinating of all the third-party auxiliary services. So I'll go through that. And the organizing and edit, that can explode into beyond 2 weeks before the actual possession handover date. And this is how it can explode. So often working with homeowners, whether they're in their home 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, I call it the 3 C's, the emotional aspect that people have attached to their possessions get in the way. There's the, well, my stuff could be worth something. I want to be able to sell certain items and gain some cash back. I want to donate to charity because, this stuff is still good. I like to rehome it. Or looking at, well, it's too good to donate to charity. I can't just give it up. I paid good money for it. And then this whole arena around, well, should I consign it? Should I auction it? Do I go through a MaxSold auction process? So all of this has to get navigated through with the homeowner before the physical pack, because we don't know what they want to pack and what they want to keep versus to sell, donate, etc. When I talk about value is there's many different valuation systems in terms of applying a dollar worth on an item that a homeowner has. Most often it's the sentimental value. You've got market value, fair market value, appraised, replacement value, liquidation, salvage, scrap value. All these have a different amount that can be placed onto a client's or in your possession. Most people get trapped with what they feel their item is worth. My grandmother gave it to me, or this is the first thing that my son made me. So some things are priceless, and to give it away would have to be a very, very high value. Market value is basically the most probable price that you would pay for an object if you're buying for. Fair market value, typically during negotiations, like buying a car, for example. Appraised value is having an appraiser come in to tell you what their item is worth, and you may need to use that for insurance purposes or replacement value. So replacement value, you've lost an item, maybe due to fire, theft, what have you. So what is the cost attached to that for the item to be replaced, and then going into liquidation, salvage, and scrap value. So you can see how confusing it is for the client, where in their head there is a value, but what value then do they place on that item? And that all has to get negotiated through while working through possessions prior to packing that up. When it comes to that sales side of things, we work often in what we call sort of a downsizing party, often, or you're just doing a moving party. So you have a house full of items, 10, 20, 30, 40 years. Time still has to be placed aside while you're going through the whole packing process and the move process to rehome these items. So is it through having a party, having people come over, there's a table full, a room full of items that the homeowner doesn't want, and then invite people as a farewell party, and they can sort of take things away, because the more that someone can take away at no cost to you, the less, or to the homeowner, the less the homeowner has to actually put out of their pocket in terms of dollars, in terms of hiring a service to get these items out of their home. Again, whether you are delivering it to a thrift store, hiring a removal company, whether you're doing a MaxSold auction or a garage sale, Kijiji, Facebook Marketplace, there's tons of marketplaces in order to sell goods, but all of this takes time. So that being said, removing the emotion side of things, I want to just bring it back to preparing for the actual move. So the physical move itself, it's very transactional. So gone are the days as one gets older and acquires more stuff, larger homes, are these college moves that you have. So liquor store boxes, fruit boxes that don't have lids, and therefore it's not stackable. So as we acquire more stuff and our stuff in our homes are more expensive, so is the packing materials that are needed in order to package and prepare these goods for transit so that they can arrive unbroken and arrive in one piece. So we use things like dish packs or china packs, as you may know it. They're double thick so that you can put a box within a box, and it really protects things like stemware, breakable dishes, fine china, and things like that. Wardrobe boxes, these wardrobe boxes, they're like 48 inches, 4 feet tall. So you're basically taking hung clothes from the hanger right from the closet right into the wardrobe hanging bar. So it saves time for taking everything off the hangers and replacing them all again. But again, it doesn't come without a cost. This is about $18 to $20 per box. When you're looking at electronics and things like that, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 plus that you're paying for electronic equipment, it will need to get boxed properly. If things are really expensive, you may even need to crate it. Crating will assure that things are custom built around the item and that it is packaged for travel. Most of the moving companies, unless something is crated or in its original box, they may or may not guarantee the television, for example. But by the time you pay for the cost of a crate, you might as well buy a whole new television altogether. So you have to put that in mind in terms of what you decide to crate or not crate. When it comes to special packaging, here are some things that we've worked on that's been quite unique for us. We had a home that we worked on, which was full of taxidermy. The husband, unfortunately, had passed, and he had all of his taxidermy in the home that we had to decide what to do with. The home was sold, so some of these items had to go into storage until the right museum or the right place was found, or the right home was found for the wife to decide where she wants to display some of this stuff. So this is what you see, a bull-headed eagle in taxidermy fashion. And how do you handle that? This was going into storage, for example, and even we've had to learn a few things. So do I use styrofoam because it's not good for the environment? In the end, we had to use biodegradable. We did use styrofoam and not the biodegradable chips that are available. Because it's not biodegradable, it's also organic. So placing something in storage, which is also organic in biodegradable chips, had a high potential of it attracting moths and other insects and things like that. So we had no choice but to use styrofoam. This is a Wolverine, very interesting. You know that wardrobe box that I talked about that you're using for clothing? They're 4 feet high. We had to take a wardrobe box, put it on its side and telescopic it, because you don't realize this Wolverine was like over 5 feet from tail to head. It was massive, massive to pack. Other packing supplies that we use, labeling is going to be your friend or your foe here. So color coding everything. So having room colors designated is so helpful when it comes to the packing of items as well as loading, because maybe certain storage items are loaded. Because when it comes to packing, not everything goes into the destination. There may be several destinations, like in this case, Cayman versus Phoenix, but it could be external storage at the site, storage in the garage, things that go not into the home. Maybe things get delivered to a daughter or son. So you may have multiple destinations. So having things that are color coded, boxes that are color coded certainly helps to make it visual and helps the movers when it comes to loading, unloading, and as well as for unpacking as well. What we do is we do room labels by destination and also inventory as well, so that at the receiving end, the destination, you'll know very quickly as to what box you need to unpack first, and certain things that you might want to leave till later, like your Christmas decorations or that roasting pan for dinner for 12. It might not be needed on the actual first day of unpack. Another thing to look at doing to streamline the move is what's known as the setup box. So a setup box is just an open box that everybody, including the movers, know is available. And it's always the last minute. You move the couch or you take away the floor lamp and there's that floor extension cord. So those can get placed. Tools that you might need to put things together or take things apart, pins for hanging art, bookshelf pins, et cetera, et cetera. These are all these last minute things as you're packing and you're moving around that you have lying around. What do you do with? So we place them all into a setup box, and everybody, all our team knows about it. Everybody in the homeowner knows about it. Those that have a landline, it's the last thing that gets unplugged. Then that whole landline goes into the setup box, because that setup box, once it gets moved into the home, that is that first box that is out dead center in a home, designated in a home on the counter in the kitchen, that everybody knows has all these last minute items that are needed. So you can throw things in, you know, whether it's tape, tape gun, Sharpies, or what have you. So it's readily available as opposed to trying to find where is something at the last moment. You know, shelf pins, as you see here, is bagged as well as labeled so that it's nice and clear. So you can have pins relating to several shelves and identified as such, all thrown into the same box. The unpack first or open first boxes are also critical. I cannot tell you how many homes that we have been into where there's no toilet paper, there's no garbage can, there's no paper towels, nothing to wipe your hands with. So when you've got a full team of movers, you know, 4 or 5 movers coming into the home, and then you have an unpacking team, so you can easily have 8, 10 people in the home, and there's no washing facilities, there's no paper towels, there's no toilet paper, kind of have a problem. So these are the things that we pack up right away first, and that is one of those boxes, like in the setup box, that is dead center in all homes so that everybody can have some essential important rooms set up for use very immediately as soon as you move into your destination. So in order to prepare to use all of these tools, the very, very first day that we start working with a client, or if you're doing your own pack, you got to go through a walkthrough and tag absolutely everything in the home. If it's just yourself and only yourself, it might not be necessary. But when you have multiple people in the home and that home doesn't belong to them, the only way to communicate is through a tagging process. and a color-coded tagging system. So as we walk through the home, every cupboard, every drawer, every closet, under the bed, behind the headboard, you name it, we go through and nothing is left for chance. So everything is tagged, absolutely everything, and or pulled together and clustered so that it can be tagged appropriately. So as we're walking through, we're identifying what can be packed right now. So the packing team is right behind us. So things like Christmas you don't need. You know, that roasting pan for 12, you might not need that bread maker, your photographs, your memorabilia, a majority of your books, apart from the books that you're reading, depending if you have the home office and some critical information. So there's so much that you have in your home that is tucked inside of cupboards and drawers that that you don't need, that can get packed right away, so that can get tagged. Because this was a 2-destination move, we did a labeling system where blue for the blue waters of the Cayman Islands. Anything that was blue was destined for Caymans. Anything that was green was for Phoenix. So we would go through and tag everything, what can be packed. And as the movers or as the packers go in and pack, they put an X on the drawers or on the tape to signify that this drawer is empty. Because if you remember, there's 8, 9 people in the home, or 5 even, so that people aren't walking through and everyone opening up these drawers and cupboards to see if there is something in there. We know by just walking through, don't even bother opening it, it's already empty. Multiple destinations, as I talked about, we tag by color, even things that stay in the home. Manuals, instructions that you're leaving. There could be appliance pieces like the grill to the microwave or the stove. So you don't want those packed. So we designate an area or a drawer in the home where it stays with the home, so it's not to be packed. Even hand carried items, things that the homeowner will take in their car or be placed in their suitcase and not to be packed. It could be medication if that's the case, especially medication if you have cats and dogs. So there might be treats, and even for kids, younger kids, and you may have things that you want to hand carry and it's not to be packed, but all of that stuff has to be tagged so that someone can't just make the assumption, oh, we'll pack it, it's part of the kitchen lot. And as we go through, including items that can be donated, tossed, or recycled, we tag them as such as well. So what gets in the way? So as we're going through this, it's simple to say and go through and tag it, but it's much more involved in that. As you're taking the homeowner through and as you're going through your own home, you are in a really quick amount of time going through all the memorabilia, life's achievements, and everything that you own and make a decision. I always say that for every decade a person has lived in a home, you almost need like a week. It's like a week for every decade to go through absolutely everything to make these decisions. It's not so easy. It's a lot easier for some people than for a lot, but it's still quite an ordeal because you're going through your entire life in one sitting. So in going through that, we always say we consolidate and sort as organizers and move managers so that the client can be taken through a process of editing out their life. So this example here is a china cabinet in a pantry, but that's not it. These are the other 2 pantries or the other 2 china cabinets in the same home that they're working through, and this couple was downsizing. So it's 3 china cabinets that they have to downsize and go through to decide what's being kept, what can be packed right away, what do we need to leave out for use. So going through the consolidation process is to help them to identify what can be packed right now, what are items that they want to keep, but they want to keep out to use from now until move out day. Then there's a whole host of items that they want to give away. They want to give friends and family a chance to go through all of this stuff. And then needless to say, there's going to be items that they may want to self-donate or have a service that is hired at fee to come in and donate. And then that whole conversation of, well, it might be worth something. Do I sell it? Do I consign it? Do I auction it? Do you have a timeline to do that or not? The solutions and the cleaning supplies as well, international moves, cross-border moves, there's no liquids allowed. And this home has 2 large laundry rooms, as well as like 7 other bathrooms. So you can imagine the amount of cleaning supplies that had to be consolidated and then donated out or have friends and family come through. When I say tag everything, I mean tag everything. Oops, sorry about that. So this is a home of a client in a 1-bedroom or studio condo in downtown Vancouver. He passed away unexpectedly, and both his kids did not live in the same city. So we had to go through using trusty device, our iPhone, and did a FaceTime call with the family, each family member, and to determine what they wanted so that we can pack. So one of the destinations was Florida, and the other destination was to Toronto, and here we are in Vancouver, so east and west. So it could be multiple destinations. I swear we should have bought shares in Green Painter's tape. So as we go through, we mark down what is being kept, what is getting donated. So we walk through the entire home, open up every cupboard and drawer to determine what is staying, what is potential donatable, what is consignable. Do we have time to do a MaxSold sale, et cetera, et cetera. So this is just a studio, and you can imagine by the time we pull everything out, this is how overwhelming. So you can imagine the larger homes as well as the more stuff that you have. By the time you pull everything out, it is overwhelming, which is why people defer doing this task over many, many years. Talking about time. So the time factor here is really looking at being real with how much time it's going to take. When it comes to books and photographs, memorabilia, paper, it is by far the #1 most time-consuming item when it comes to going through this in preparation for a move or pack. So trying to keep collections together. This particular home, we had about 65 boxes of just books. Not a single book was donated. They were so lovers of books and physical books, not e-readers or any of that stuff. So all of this was getting packed for Phoenix and maybe a couple of boxes for the Cayman Islands. So, but regardless, it's, if you were to edit through, you can imagine how long to open up the book, and you're going through memory lane, opening up the covers, what to donate, what to sell, what to give to friends. We were lucky. These are 1.5 cube boxes. So by chance or by design, these bookshelves fit these boxes the exact width and exact height. Couldn't have even asked for more. So we were very easily able to keep these collections in the order they sat on the shelf. So that made the pack a little bit easier, but still arduous nonetheless for that. Books are heavy, as I said, but when you factor in the stairs, so this is the home that it was a terraced landscaping. I think there was like 57 steps or 65 steps from the front door as you went up all the way out to grade level where the moving trucks were. So moving trucks, the movers weren't happy with that many books in the home. Forget about furniture. So I want to move in and talk about donations. One of the things that people often don't take into account is the amount of time involved to go through for donations or for selling items or for auction. So with all the time in the world, the homeowners can certainly do this on their own. Family and friends can come in. That's called free time, non-billable labor that your friends and family can donate to the cause. More often than not, with the compressed timeline, when a home is sold and someone has been in a home for decades, we don't have that luxury of time for them to, oh, I'll go through it and pick through. When your timeline is looming for possession handover date, then there comes the cost of our services or a paid service to go through what the homeowner feels, well, they should have been able to do this on their own. But for decades, they have not. So the time then is spent in doing the sort and helping the homeowner to edit through so that we can bag and box items. So here's Melissa going through this homeowner's books, and these are liquor boxes that we're using to bag all of the donations. These 20 boxes were just designated for the yacht club that he belonged to, but there were over 50 boxes. We use liquor boxes, so one would think, why go and buy boxes in order to donate them? But if you don't have boxes, how do you carry all of these books as well as other donated possessions out? So whether you go and source out or the homeowner sources out liquor boxes, you're still paying us or somebody to go and source out the boxes. So do you source out free boxes and pay labor to do that? Or do you actually buy brand new boxes in order to put donated items in to donate these boxes? And this seems such a simple task or a simple thought to go through, but for the homeowner, it's pretty grave to navigate through the cost of paying boxes only to donate them. And that's just one tiny ordeal and one tiny set of decisions over many decisions that the homeowners have to go through, that as a move manager, we have to kind of reconcile with these types of decisions for the homeowner. So another poll here, Heather. In your chat, if I'm going to have you answer, what is the most challenging item or most unique item that you've had to move out of a home? So place your answer in the chat.
Piano. I know about the piano fiascos. The cellars. The upright piano. Yeah. A large Rubbermaid shed, exercise equipment. You were talking about that, Linda. Full-sized, wall-sized unit that doesn't fit out the door.
Yeah, that's where some dismantling needs to come into play. And especially
oversized coach that arrived through window 10 years earlier. A coat like with horses, like a coach. Fishing nets, couches, a loom.
Yes, we've done looms. But these oversized furniture, you realize really quickly, especially IKEA, you buy things all disassembled and then items are assembled in a room, but once assembled, they can't get out the door. So it's pretty crazy when you realize, I don't know how they got it in here. And sometimes it's because it's been built into the room or it was assembled in the room. And then you realize on move day, it's not coming out until you take it all apart.
Oh. Cast iron cloth tub, one of those big antique tubs.
Oh, the claw tubs.
Fit through the door.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, huge old card catalog from Germany, 4 of them. Didn't fit down the stairs. I had one with photography equipment from the 90s in the basement, and our haul-away guys ended up having to just try and dismantle it. It was a project. A stair railing, yeah. Or
No,
stair
crazy. While you guys are entering some things into chat, I'm just going to break in here a little bit, Heather. Judy has a question with reference to who does the packing. Let's put it this way. Every moving company that I've worked with, when they go in and do an estimate, I've tried to have them play nice. Not always the case. They almost kind of put the fear into the homeowner. Well, if we don't pack it, it's not insured. And that's kind of the standard line and the sentiment that they place. So if there's any movers on the call, my apologies, but this is my personal experience. And my response is, we are insured. We have insurance. And I always say to our homeowners, double check to see what the mover's insurance will cover. Many moving company insurance will cover by weight. They will say they will cover you to X amount of cents per pound. So how do you factor in heavy IKEA furniture, MDF, which is worth nothing, and then you have a super light item, but that's been in your family for generations. And if you're getting paid by the pound for insurance for breakables or damage, so you really need to read the insurance and just forewarn the homeowner to really read the insurance that the moving company is providing to make sure it is the right amount of insurance. And if it is not, then the homeowner's insurance policy, you need to get a rider on top of that to make sure it's covered. Because again, it's that declared value, the replacement value, what's the appraised value. So if there are items that are really expensive in the home, you may need to, in advance, have a declared value of that item and provide that to the moving company to make sure that your insurance is covered properly. So hopefully that gives you sort of an idea of the insurance conversation that I have. The other question that Judy had was, do label indicate destinations room or from? We label where it's going to the destinations. So that's the other difference that a moving company and what a move manager and professional organizer does, because we come at it from an organize and a pack, as opposed to a move, a pack and a move. We don't move, they don't organize, both of us pack. So the organizer's approach to a packing, we pack based on where it's going to by destination. So that's why we consolidate. So a mover will pack where things are from. Oh, there's cleaning supplies from the master bedroom, cleaning supplies from the laundry, cleaning supplies from the kitchen. We consolidate all the cleaning supplies in the entire home and pack it destined for the laundry room at the new location, if that makes sense. And what tape do you like for the tagging process? Painter's tape, because it's low tack. If the painters can use it and put it on the wall and then it can peel off clean, then we'll follow that. And we've been using the painter's tape for years. No masking tape, because it's that sticky residue and you don't want to be using Goo Gone on anything. Any other interesting items, Heather, unique items being moved?
That was it for the items.
Okay, thanks everybody for that. So that being said, where are we here? And you're right, pianos, you know, apart from the taxidermy, for me, pianos are always very, very interesting to deal with. There's never enough time in a day. There's never enough time and leeway to get a piano that you don't want out, because nobody wants a piano. Did you know at least 4 to 6 pianos a month go to the landfill a month? What are your choices? You know, an older stand-up piano like this, just to get a completely refinished, reconditioned, you're looking $10, $20, $30,000. So, you know, anyone, especially in condos now, townhomes, they're buying electric pianos that they're plugging in because they don't have the space so that they can put the headset on and they're not disturbing everybody. And Heather was saying, you know, you just bought a piano through MaxSold. In fact, I think it was $60, $75 that you purchased for it. But it wasn't about the $60, $75. It was the whole ordeal afterwards. How much did it cost you to move the piano? Because just to have a piano move, regardless to its new destination and rehome, even if it was to be moved to the landfill, the movers are charging anywhere from $300 to $500.
Yeah, I advise if you're bidding on a piano to start calling around as soon as you know that you want to be the winning bidder, whether you are or not. You need to be well prepared in advance, because people are booked out if they move a piano.
And it's not like you can just pull up your van and put this in. And even if you were, it's heavy. You need more than several people to hoist this piano. And if it's not on the ground floor and you're dealing with stairs, my goodness, it's a huge ordeal. So yeah,
calculate the stairs. Keep that in mind.
Absolutely. So pianos for sure. You know, musical instruments are a lot easier, perhaps. You know, you can shop it around to schools, to music instructors and things like that. But a piano is not so nimble to move around. And the other thing is gym equipment. How many homes have I gone into and basements, and there is the, whether it's a recumbent bike, whether it's an elliptical, or there's homes, larger homes that have a full, gym equipment that's there. It's massive and heavy, and it does take some coordination. By the time one lets go of an elliptical, maybe it's more than several years, 5-10 years old. So there's newer, more up-to-date machines that are out there. So they're hard to come by. They're hard to get rid of. So time is going to be your friend. So going back to sort of the emotional side of things. So when you factor in the emotions that people have attached to their items, this wardrobe, for example, this unit, well made, absolutely yes. A family history to it, absolutely yes. A large item for them to store their things were, yes, yes, yes to it all. But they admit it, nobody in the family wants it. They try to resell it. This particular home, we had time enough to do a MaxSold auction on, and everything got auctioned off except this item. Nobody wanted, even for free, as people were coming by to pick up their items on pickup day. Hey, there's this beautiful wardrobe there that you can take, no cost to you. Your moving truck is right there. Nobody wanted. And when you're dealing with a tight timeline, this is what you're dealing with. It's not the smalls that can get thrown into a box or a bag. As well as dining room tables. Beautifully carved, yes. Heirloom, maybe. Solid, absolutely. Just the craftsmanship. But again, in Vancouver here, a 500 square foot is a 1-bedroom apartment in some cases. So these rectangular tables that sit 8, 12, 16 people, it just doesn't fit. And just that the lines, it's a different style nowadays. We're not arguing about how wonderful these pieces are. It's just that styles have changed and people can't fit these large pieces into the streamlined homes that we have. Here's a story here. This piece of furniture, beautiful Scandinavian antique, this large piece here. This settee is as wide as a double bed and is over 6 feet high. There's a pair of these chairs with a matching table. Couldn't sell it, nobody wanted it, couldn't donate it, nobody wanted it for free. So I ended up calling the Arts Club, which is a theater company here, just by chance, do they need it for a stage production? And yay, they did. So we were able to donate off these chairs and then this table, but not this. So sad to say, close your ears, everybody. So on the day of removal, the homeowners, I had her daughter, take her for a coffee, come back in a couple of hours. So in comes the removal company with sledgehammers, and they sledgehammered this to pieces and then brought it out the door. Super sad, absolutely. But when you're in a time crunch and move day is 2 days from now, what do you do with something like that? So people get pretty desperate. And people always forget the storage locker. Every single time I've kind of learned to never go by the saying, oh, is there anything in your locker? Oh no, it's just a few boxes. Are all those boxes packed? Is there anything loose? Oh no, just a few things. Always go down and look at the storage locker, because there's always half-packed boxes, things that were just thrown in there that people forget. So, and we had to go in because some things were destined in this case for Caymans and the other one for Phoenix. So your friend, at the end of the day, you're going to label. That is going to be your friend or foe. So we label every room to where the destination is, as well as do a quick inventory so that you'll know of all the bedroom boxes that are in the room. You'll know what's inside them loosely. We're not going to take it down to 7 knives, 3 forks, etc. But at least it's cutlery that's in there. So the beauty of having a color-coded rooms by destination is that the movers can move the boxes into the right rooms to begin with. So by the time the moving company leaves, everything in your kitchen will be yellow. Everything in your bedroom will be pink. So this will be bedroom master, bedroom Heather, bedroom Brian, what have you. So all the bedrooms will be labeled by occupant, but they're all pink bedroom labels in this case, and then just generic ones to add in different rooms. So the 2 destination moves, we do we call it a sort of a belt around the boxes. So we take a colored roll of painter's tape, and then these ones were destined for Cayman. So that means for this move, all the boxes destined for Cayman would have a blue belt around it, a blue tape around it. The ones that don't were for Phoenix. So when the movers come in, they know exactly that if they're picking up for the Cayman Islands, only boxes that have the blue tape around it. So there is no room for error. So you may have this box says garage. So you may have two boxes that are labeled for the garage, but this is the garage at Cayman as opposed to the garage in Phoenix. So it's absolutely clear. And it could be, especially for families that are moving into a rental accommodation because their new home has not finished their renovations, or maybe it's a new build and it's not finished yet due to the sale of their existing home. So you have a kitchen in the rental unless it's a furnished rental. So you'll have a kitchen box that is yellow in this case, but it's going to the rental home, whereas you have a kitchen box that it's going into storage until they can get into their permanent home. So one has to kind of think about it in those types of layers. In addition to furniture, we also label furniture. So furniture pieces that are going to be moving from origin to destination, we label. Whether we unpack it or not, especially if we don't unpack it, we're all creatures of habit. You have the same set of drawers, bookshelves, so you want to sort of place things in the same order. But if they're kind of pulled out willy-nilly, then your order is lost. So we pack according to drawer 1, drawer 2, drawer 3. So the contents of drawer 1 is packed at the bottom of a box, a piece of paper, packing paper over top that says drawer 1. So everything underneath that piece of paper belongs to drawer 1. So it's very organized in that respect. If you don't do that, this is what you get. So this is an actual situation of a international move from the US into Canada here from not us, we didn't pack it. So this box is that wardrobe box, which is 48 inches high assembled. So imagine 4 feet worth of just clothing. So they just took the drawers and they dumped it in, a second drawer and they dumped it in. So this is what you get, including the drawer dividers. It was maddening trying to figure all of this stuff out. So a little bit easier if it was layered in the box as to what level was for which drawer. So clear labels again will lend to seeing across the room. So this is a move to Vancouver Island, a ferry ride away. So all of our label boxes is very clear. So everything is in yellow, you know, goes into the kitchen. Our green was for decor. So you know exactly by looking at these colors, what room it should be in. So then every single room should have one particular color in them, so that there's no room for error. And the moving team for us were pretty demanding, let's say. So when the movers move the boxes into the home, we stage the boxes with the labels facing out so that if we don't do the unpack, the homeowners can really see what is in the boxes, as opposed to having the box placed into the home with the labels facing against the wall. Kind of just annihilated your labeling system by having that done. So controlling the moving team is also really, really important, managing that aspect. And those are those details from a move manager's perspective that we take care of. So in addition to the clear labeling, whether you do open first box, setup box, or unpack first, these are separate and above the room color labels so that you can see these boxes a mile away. This is what you're opening first. And these are the toilet paper, the hand towels, the initial things that you need on that first night that the homeowner's in the home. So while all of that is happening, the transactional and the tactile, as a move manager, we're managing all of the other logistics, the third-party providers. So the moving company, whether they're international moving company or local moving company, each is different because you're dealing with cross-border restrictions. The level of detailed inventory that's required for an international move is different than a local move across the street. Extra protection is perhaps needed in terms of packaging your goods for transit so that to avoid breakage. And especially for the international moves, it's also the shipping container availability, 2, 3, 6 months wait in some cases. So a lot of this stuff is just getting placed into storage, and the homeowners just moving forward into a rental until they get their goods. The other side to factor in and to work through with the homeowners is the cost of all these services. So when you're doing a move, it's not just the pack, it's not just donations, it's the cost of donations. So sometimes given the volume, and rather than, you know, a little bit into your sedan, we don't take, we don't do removal services. We hire removal service companies to do so. So one company will take away donations, as well as recycling, shredding, and rubbish in one go, but there's a charge against it. So in Vancouver, I know every city is different. If you're looking at a volume, let's say a dishwasher or the size of an oven, a range, that's about 3 cubic feet or so. So per that volume, you're looking about $60 to $75 per that volume. So how much volume at $70, $60 a cubic, you know, yard is it going to take to get all that is not needed from the homeowner out of their home into the right hands, even if it's meaning to the transfer station for rubbish. So there's quite the cost. It could be in the thousands of dollars depending on the volume. Cleaning services as well. For a move out clean, most realtors require a professional cleaning company to come in with a receipt to show that a specific checklist is followed. So you can't just go, oh, I'll save some money and do the clean myself. So it's very, very particular. So as the manager or even as a homeowner, you just need to check with the realtor based on what your legal requirement is in terms of how to hand over the home, to what level of clean do they require and what needs to be cleaned. You know, the top of the stove, do they need to pull the stove and the refrigerator out? You know, definitely cleaning all the cupboards and drawers, and et cetera, et cetera. Consigning is also the other thing. So if you're not selling it, garage sale, giving it away to friend, and you're not holding an auction, one of the options is the consignability of some items. So going to a consignment store where it's typically a 50-50 split. Some are 60-40. Homeowner gets 40% or 50% of the proceeds after they sell the items. So there's a retail store that they place items out in. This is an actual consignment store that we do work with as well. But the time, so it's always time. So it's the time, and thank goodness for technology now, taking photographs so that you can shop these items around to the consignor to see if they want them. And of the items that they do want, they still have to be packed for transport. So it's a mini move all over again. Then having to arrange for cartage. So there's a cost attached to their moving company or our moving company to move those goods to the consignment house. And of the items that are not acceptable for consignment, then you go through the whole donations process all over again. Okay, so at the end of the day, revisiting the timeline that I started with, you're really looking at the plus. That initial timeline, whether it's within 2 weeks on a very simple, non-complicated pack, but it's never simple, never non-complicated. By the time you factor in all the emotional decisions and all of the third-party decisions and providers that you have to connect with. So when do you do your last pack? Who does it? Does the movers do it? Does the move manager be there and arrive at 8 o'clock in the morning to do that last minute? It's that kettle that you leave out. If your head is going to be, if the homeowner's head is going to be on the pillow, they're going to be waking up the morning of the move. Movers will generally arrive 8:30 in the morning on average, or anywhere between 8 to 9 o'clock in the morning. So excuse me, an hour before that, someone has to come in. You got to strip the beds, the last minute towel, what are all the medication, what about the refrigerator, all the things in the freezer and the refrigerator, the kettle that you left out because you want a cup of coffee, maybe it's a skillet that you have. the 2 knives, 2 forks, 2 plates and mugs, all of that has to get packed on the morning of the move if you're doing a local move. So all that has to get accommodated for. And when does it get done and by whom? Then it's the final consignment pickup. So the last day is bagging and boxing all the things that you don't need to have a service taken out. So it's clear so that the movers can come, or it's clear for removal. But it's for donations, it's not a removal item. It's getting a moving company to get it to a donations or a consignment house, if that's the case. And then that whole arena around that family. Oh, my friend's going to come by. Such and such is going to come and take a look at that bed that you don't want. So more likely, all of this that's happening, you're adding a whole other week or two before this critical last 11 to 14 days, especially if you're having a MaxSold auction. You still have to factor in the day of the pickup, the week of the actual online auction, then it's preparing the lots for photography. So there's a whole lot of work before this last 2 weeks. So that's all I have. I just want to open up to some questions. And I'll leave it up with the timeline.
Okay. All right. Let's see. We do have a bunch of questions. And also, just so everybody knows, this is being recorded and we can share this recording. So there will, in a couple days, be availability for that on the Facebook channel. And I will put my email in the chat in case somebody needs to request it. I know in the past I did that at the end and it wasn't enough time for everybody. So I'll make sure I put that in early on for you guys. But we do have a bunch of questions. Let's see. Who should pack the fragile items, the movers or the owners?
It depends. It depends on the owners and the relationship from a move manager's perspective, the relationship that you have. We, more often than not, are hired to pack the fragile items because the owner is like, I don't know what to do. I don't want to break it. So they don't trust themselves. So we will do the pack with that. There are some times where I'll have the moving company do it as well. So I mean, we work well with our movers as well. It depends on resources that we have. It depends on, you know, sometimes things they're huge. You know, we've had art pieces that are, you know, 10 feet high, 8 feet across, that's been custom built for this wall. So it's like, yeah, I'm going to get the movers to do that. So it really does depend. And of course, you know, we have insurance, they have insurance. So it's really around that communication that you have with the homeowner in terms of your comfort level and your expertise, etc.
There's a question about the dining room tables and the big hutches that you showed. They're wondering where they went. Did they end up in a landfill?
There's 2 furniture ministries that I work with where and you just have to find your pockets within the city that you are. So we have Helping Families in Need and Home Start, and they specifically only take furniture. They don't take smalls, so that they have a warehouse or a basement whereby they will bring in their volunteers to pick up specific pieces of furniture. So you still have to shop it to them to make sure that they have room, and they hold these furniture pieces so that when agencies refer families that don't have the means to buy this furniture, they give these pieces of furniture for free. But again, there are times when their warehouse is so full that they have to say no. And then yes, we try to donate them. So the removal service that we do hire, there's not necessarily 1-800-GOT-JUNK. There's a whole bunch of removal services out there like a 1-800-GOT-JUNK, is they will do their best to take it to a donation to a charity before taking it to recycling and to the transfer station. The reality is, and this is part of the communication that we work with the homeowner, this is where time is going to be your friend. The more time that you have, the more time you have to find these free and low cost services to rehome these items. When you're pressed for time and you've only got a window of a week or less, you're almost guaranteed that it's going to go to the landfill, because once it gets into the truck and the vehicle of the removing company, they have to empty that truck because they've got another service right behind you, or the next day they need to empty the truck. So if the charity, and it has happened, charities are turning furniture away. They're turning some of these larger pieces away because even the charity, whether it's Value Village, any of the charities that you have, they don't have the space. And they realize that, no, we can't sell this. Nobody wants it. It's on the truck. Where do you think it's going to go? Sadly enough, it may go to the transfer station. Not the answer you want, but that's the reality of the times.
How about when you're moving your items straight to a storage unit? Any advice for labeling with that?
It's going to be the same labels, because even though it's going into storage, so maybe you're doing a kitchen renovation and you're not ready for everything in the kitchen yet. So the kitchen label still has to be placed on it, because you'll have kitchen items going into your new home that you can unpack right away, but there's still going to be kitchen items that you don't have room for yet that's going to be in storage that eventually will come. Maybe it's in storage because you're living in a rental and you're taking some kitchen items with you. Once your new home is ready, you're going to have to pack the kitchen items in the rental to match up with the kitchen items that are in storage. So both those labels better match, because you don't want to have two different kitchen labels, kitchen color labels. So you're going to still have, for us, yellow kitchen label that will be in the rental items and a yellow kitchen label for the boxes that are in storage, because rental and storage will match together and all be brought over to the one final destination. Hopefully that is an answer to what you're looking for.
And shipping or packing tape best for sealing boxes? What's your recommendation? Tape recommendations?
We've always done, we've been doing this for over 20 years. We've always done packing tape and haven't heard otherwise that it hasn't been successful. But yes, there are some shipping tape that's got that fiber in it, where it doesn't break apart. There's a cost attached to that as well. So depending on, I guess, the humidity level, depending on how long it's going into storage, it might be something to take a look at. You know, beyond the packing tape, I think it's more around the density of the box, because you don't want any air pockets in the box, because you just don't know how these boxers are getting thrown around and how high they're getting stacked. And if they're all stacked and you've got this air pocket that you haven't filled, you know boxes are going to start collapsing into each other.
And who do you use to print your custom labels, or do you have a recommendation for who to use or where to go?
The supplier that we use to purchase our boxes, our packing boxes, label, packing guns and all of that stuff, that's where we use, because they have there's like pre-printed fragile labels, pre-printed storage labels and things like that. So our custom moving labels with the Out of Chaos label on them, we just go through them. It's just easier for us. It's just one source, but there's a lot of online labels places that you can do. You can just go to even a printing company. There's a setup charge. It's just like doing letterhead or anything like that. It's a standard label, 1 inch by 3. You pick the size that you want and just slap on the branding that you need, but just call around just to check what the price variances are and the lead times.
Okay, and there's several questions around how to best choose a mover, keeping costs manageable, negotiating contract. There's a few questions around how to navigate the selection of a mover.
So you need to look, it's about insurance and it's about their reputation. So there are a lot of people, hey, I've got a van, magnetic sign, even no sign, you can call on Craigslist. We've all seen, and if you haven't seen, go and Google some of these nightmare stories. There was one fairly recently where I think it was in Ontario, where you read through this article and gasped at what had happened. But at the end of the day, they went on Kijiji or Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace to look for a mover. Maybe price was a deciding factor, but there are certain things you just can't benchmark on a price. It's like hiring a caregiver for your child. Are you going to just go on the lowest price alone? So it's really about the value of your contents and the ability to file a claim, which is really, really important. And an international move as well, you need to know, is it part of the Atlas van line? What are the connections? Because the mover that's going to load you in your origin They're not going to go through all across the borders, get onto a plane or get onto the water and then meet you in Paris or in the Cayman Islands. There's many companies that exchange hands in a long distance move or over the border move, just from US to Canada and vice versa with that. So I would check, and you can even check with references. You know, for us, it's around the relationship and the response times. When I'm calling and it takes people a couple of days to call me back, that it's a bit of an issue for me, because when your goods, your entirely livelihood of your goods or the client's goods are on a truck, and if something has gone missing, I need to know that certain people are available at my fingertips and that they're just not answering their phone. So you do, in this case, really pay for what you get, and you need to look at the fine line, look at their contracts, look at their insurance, look at also the extra charges. It does come into play. I'm not saying that they're not warranted. It's the mileage, the travel time. Some movers, some local movers that aren't part of a larger outfit, they don't charge for travel. Most movers will charge from the moment they leave their warehouse until they return. So if it takes an hour to get from where their warehouse is to the client site, you're getting charged for that hour for the whole team of 4 in the truck, or the 2 trucks, if that's the case, including traffic. So with traffic, if there's construction and traffic and it takes them an additional half hour, you're getting charged for that additional half hour. So travel time is perhaps a wiggle room for you, or not. There's also the mileage. There's always the plus fees attached to that.
Okay, so let's see. We have a lot of questions. I'm going to look over and see if there's some from Facebook also. Okay, you answered a lot about picking insurance. Okay, movers with insurance. Do you label to indicate destination, room, or room from, like the room it came from? There's a question about knowing that.
Majority of the time we go by destination, where the items are going to. It doesn't always work out that way. And here's a scenario where it would not work out. Someone hasn't found a home yet. So they've sold their home, but they haven't found their new home. So they have no idea what they're moving into. So everything's going into storage. So in a situation like that, there's no choice but to pack from origin. These items came from the kitchen. These items came from the drawing room, the library, because I don't know what their new home is, whether they will even have a library. I don't know if they will have 2 kitchens or just the 1 kitchen. So it's a lot easier to do the from scenario as opposed to the destination. You just work it out with the homeowner in terms of what's best, because at the end of the day, they will have to understand it if we are not doing the unpack, or if you're not doing the unpack for them. If you are doing the unpack for them, it's easy, because part of your unpack from an organizer's perspective, you're doing the space plan. We're now in this new home. Now we're going to set up your kitchen, and let's just do what we do best in terms of setting it up in terms of functionality, how they use it, you know, they're left-handed, right-handed, and it has a difference, etc.
Okay. If moving across country, are we charged for the mover's return trip? I don't know if you covered that. At the destination. So it's not, like I said, it's not like the mover in the origin city is going to see the goods all the way through to the destination city, because sometimes they will hand over. It depends on their agreements and so forth, and depends on the movers. Sometimes they're handing over the goods at the border to another driver, if that's the case. So check with the moving company how your move is going to, what the logistics of the move is in terms of how many hands it's going to take over. So especially with these conglomerations of moving companies. So you'll have ABC Mover located in your home city, who's part of, say, the van lines or the Atlas van line conglomeration. So you have other movers in other
other independent moving companies and independent movers who are part of that van line so that they do a seamless handover. So the actual driver itself doesn't see you all the way through. It depends on the international move. Like internationally, definitely not. The same driver in Vancouver, British Columbia here is not going to be the same driver that's going to drop the goods off in the Cayman Islands. However, in Vancouver, going over to our capital city over the ferry, the 2.5-hour ferry ride over the water into Victoria could be a long distance driver that takes the goods, and it has, from Vancouver over to the ferry, and it's overnight stays and it's their meals, it's all factored in to the destination until they drop it off. So it depends on the location and the moving company.
Okay. Somebody would like to know the best way to pack garden tools.
Gardening tools. We usually just take a dish pack. So if you look at a 2 cubes, or even a wardrobe. So just leave the wardrobe box open and all of those random tools are just sort of placed in, because you're not going to be able to custom build a box that's going to be 6-7 feet high. You could, but it's not necessary unless it's something breakable like a telescope. You may want to custom build or telescope a box, but gardening tools and things like that, you just need a way to corral them. So we just place them in, because usually there's there's other things. There's like yoga mats, and there's going to be other mats, and you've got the gardening hose, you've got the gardening the watering can and things like that. So all that can just get thrown into that one big open box. Just try to reduce your open boxes as much as possible, because the more open boxes you have, those are the boxes that are not stackable. So what you want is to make sure that the boxes that go into the moving truck is all stackable, so that they can Tetris all the boxes in and everything can fit into a moving truck, and you don't have to go into a second truck or a third truck unless the volume demands that. Like plants, for example, they're one level. So you put a plant down, there's nothing that can go on top of the plant. So you want to sort of avoid those open boxes for that reason. It's just about square footage.
Okay. Somebody is asking, how do you charge for your time and service as a move manager?
So the time is charged based on the amount of staff that are on site, and of course so our charge out is anywhere from 15 to 2,000 a day, depending, and you're getting like 24, 32 man hours out of that. So it really does depend on the size of the team. But if you had like 4 people on for say 6 hours, that's like 24 man hours in one day. 24 man hours from a move manager or a professional organizer is different than 24 man hours of your family and friends. Someone that has a consorted and the interest in packing and that expertise to navigate all of these questions is much more efficient and productive than someone who is just ad hocing and just, running around with their head cut off. So the variable is always around the volume that someone has in their home and their ability and inability to process decisions and questions quickly. So a one car garage, it's not the same the whole over. There are 1-car garages that the only thing that's in there is a car, nothing to pack. There are 1-car garages where the car has never set foot in the garage, and it is full to the ceiling, side to side with stuff. And it's stuff that's not packable. It's old paint. It's, so it takes time. So how do you factor in, a 1-car garage, this is how long it's going to take? I can't. I have not in 20 years been able to say to anybody, oh, you have a 2-bedroom home, this is how much it's going to cost. The variable is the volume of stuff and the individual.
So we have a question that just came in. Do movers pack your stuff up on the same day as the move, or before the moving day?
No way. I would not advise that, because especially going into condos and things like that, where you have to book elevators, there's a block of time. There's a couple of buildings in our area where you only get a 3-hour window. And if the movers cannot get everything unloaded and into the new condo within those 3 hours, they're out of luck. We've had it whereby I didn't have to stay in the hotel, in the lobby, and we had to book another time because another move was right behind us. So trying to get the pack done and the move all in one day, it's just not going to happen. I'm not saying it can't happen, but you leave no window, because the moving company, it's by the time they arrive at their home, it's usually, like I say, 8:30, 9 in the morning. And by the time they empty a typical 2-bedroom house, you're still looking at least noon to 1 o'clock that they arrive at the new location. And the first boxes will start getting into the destination between noon and 1. So if you have that secondary window in the afternoon, what if you don't get it packed in time? And that means in the morning, they're trying to pack within 3 hours in order to get things loaded to get onto the elevator. So it's just not going to happen. You could have a separate packing team and then have a mover, but it's not fun working on such a tight deadline. So what time do you start? 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning? And then you know that the movers are going to be there at 11 o'clock, because they've got to load the vehicle in order to meet the 1 o'clock elevator timeline. And how long are they going to stay for? Some moving companies after 5 o'clock, regardless of whether the movers have been on an 8-hour day, they're charging you double time. So these are all the factors you have to consider. Is the overtime factor, it's trying to meet all of these moving pieces together. There are move day packs. So that's why going through the tagging system, what are the items that are you going to leave as a last pack is so important. So we always say to the homeowner, we are going to lean you out of your own possessions. As we get closer, the week before the move, 2 days before the move, the day before the move, what are these things that you need left out? We always have them do a moving suitcase, whether it's 1 suitcase or 3 suitcases. Imagine that you are going to live in a hotel for 3 to 5 days. So you are working, playing, kids, pets, everything. In those 3 or 5 days, what do you need to have inside of the suitcase that you need to live with, that you do not need to dive into a box for? Medications, supplements, kids, playing, yoga. If you need the ball gown and tiara, it's got to get thrown into the suitcase. So everything that you have. So you need to have a trial. So as the homeowner leads up to the day of the move, that suitcase is left open. Because I know me, when I'm traveling, you take out the contact lens solution, a creature of habit, it goes back into the cupboard. So that when you go on your trip and you're like, oh shoot, the contact lens solutions, it's in my bathroom, in the cupboard, because that's where I always put it. So you have to have this trial run and make sure everything. So that can avoid that last minute move day, because they are now living out of their suitcase. And then apart from the kettle and maybe 2 cups, 2 knives, forks, or whatever, there's very minimal that you'll have to pack on the day of the move.
Okay, we have one last question, then we'll wrap it up. And Linda, you might want to share your slide with your contact info again, just in case people have some follow-up questions, which they might. We've had a lot of questions, but your last one is, can you address who packs and carries the jewelry?
I always have the homeowners to do that, because in these situations where I have not, I've more often than not received a panic call, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. My diamond ring, $10,000, where is it? And just people in tears, because we have moved things around, and people are creatures of habit. They wake up and they're like, okay, I know on the bedside table is this. They go into the bathroom or they go into their dressing room and they know it's the second drawer from the bottom. So they're all creatures of habit. So now in one sitting, you basically moved everything. There is no staple anymore. So people freak out when they can't find things that they're used to finding at the fingertips. So the most natural way is to point the finger. Well, who was here? What stranger was in my home? That's us. We're the strangers that people invite into the home. So we are always the first to be pointed at as to what happened with it. So things that are valuable ID. So during every pack, we have a box where it's ID, monies, jewelry, anything that is super, super important, passports, you name it, that we find it, it all gets placed in that box. There's actually a sign-in sheet. Everything that's placed in the box is logged in. And then when I hand it over to the homeowner, they sign to the fact that everything that's in this box, we've handed over to you. So I have it documented, the homeowner has it documented. So we try not handle any of that stuff.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Linda Chu, so much for being here and giving us so much useful information. Very much appreciated. And thank you everybody who has attended. Again, recording will be available on Facebook Live in another day or so also. So thank you so much, everybody. And I hope everyone has a great rest of their day.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for taking your time.